Welcome to Felicity Was Here, where three superfans of the underappreciated 90s gem Felicity rewatch every episode and discuss one young woman's journey of self-discovery in New York City. So put on your coziest cable knit sweater, grab a cup of Dina DeLuca coffee, and join us in watching the trials and tribulations of one Felicity Porter. Hello and welcome back to Felicity Was Here. I'm Heather.
I'm Melissa.
And I'm Dr. Joe.
And today we are discussing Felicity Season 1, Episode 5, Spooked. Happy Halloween, everybody!
Yay, happy Halloween!
Ooh!
I've got my Halloween outfit on. I'm like ready for this episode.
Yes.
Love it.
I just got out all my Halloween decorations yesterday. I'm very excited to put them up.
We keep ours up year round.
Dr. Joe and I were just talking that the weather has finally cooled off slightly in California, so we're feeling the vibes.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be like 85 here this week in Illinois, but that's okay.
Wow. What a ripoff. That's not authentic fall.
Not yet.
Mm-mm.
Well, this week we are talking about Spooked, and a terrifying experience brings Felicity and Ben closer together. Julie and the pink guy progress in their relationship, and Elena makes the best of a terrible Halloween costume. And so many funny moments. I love seeing everyone dressed up this week. I think I am now going to be a Subway employee for Halloween this year. I think I've decided.
I love it. But do their outfits even look like that anymore? I don't.
Oh, I wonder. That's a good point because that is quite old.
Like the uniforms are probably different.
Yeah. They must have updated them by now.
I just love that they fully committed and wore the gloves.
The gloves too.
Like,
Absolutely. The gloves was a nice touch.
And like Noel, he hadn't even gotten to the party and he's like still wearing the gloves around the door. Well, for those who maybe missed last week or just can't remember what happened, let's do a little recap. Last week, Noel kissed Felicity, but then revealed that he has a long-distance girlfriend named Hannah who lives in Chicago. My heart broke a little bit. Ben also tried out for the track team but didn't make it. Julie told Ben that she wanted to just be friends, and meanwhile, she got to know the pink guy who she met in the laundry room, and he didn't know how to do laundry and turned all of his clothes pink. I think his real name is Zach, but I will just continue to call him Pink Guy.
Yeah, sounds good.
Pink guy's appropriate.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be anything else. And then Elena wound up with Felicity as her lab partner, so they're also growing in their friendship. But this week, as I mentioned, it's Halloween, and some scary things happen to Felicity and Ben. And then there's also some funny moments too. So why don't we go ahead and start talking about Spooked? So we open up with Felicity recording her tape to Sally per usual, and she explained that something very New York happened to her. And we see Felicity and Ben walking together from the subway to his place, and Felicity tells Sally that the only time she was really seeing Ben was when she was helping him, that they've never really had conversations. They weren't getting to the next level and deepening, which kind of makes sense. Like their friendship is very surface level at this point from what we've seen, and Felicity tends to go extra and over the top with things.
No.
What? So it's probably been hard for Ben to like maybe trust her and want to develop a friendship there.
That's a good point that he'd be guarded because she has had some blow-ups already. Big revelations. So yeah, I could see how he'd be a little bit have his guard up. Even though she's very nice and very sweet, very endearing and all those things. A lot of pressure, I think, to live up to her expectations.
For sure. And he's mentioned that too.
Mm-hmm.
That she kind of intimidates him.
Mm-hmm.
So as they are going from the subway, they enter his loft, and all of a sudden, some guys with guns grab them and push them to the ground, and his loft proceeds to get burglarized. So really scary, very New York moment. I think this is like all parents' nightmares, is like your kids moving to New York and getting held at gunpoint and robbed. I think it's like the stereotype that people imagine in their heads about New York. But I will say, I was actually burglarized in college while I was in my apartment as well. well.
I
So this
remember
Oh my
you telling me that
Yeah.
story. Yes.
I hope they didn't have guns. I don't know. But most of us were in our apartment. We were sleeping and I was hearing a commotion like in the living room. I
Wow.
actually shared a bedroom with someone who wasn't there at the time. So someone came into the room and I just thought it was my roommate coming home. I heard like rustling around by my desk next to me, but I was already in bed. I was like, oh, whatever. She's just being weird. And then they left the room. And a few minutes later, I'm like, what is she doing? Like there was tons of noise coming from the living room. I'm like, what is she doing out there? So I kind of like peeked out and like I looked down the hall and I see her front door is open. I'm like, that's not right.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they had taken a bunch of stuff and I like woke up the rest of my roommates and called my other roommate who wasn't there. And yeah, so this definitely happens not in New York as well. Like this can happen
Mhm.
anywhere.
Mhm.
So
So scary.
Yeah.
it was, but I can tell you the effort that the police go to in this episode is not
Oh
real.
my gosh.
They're
I was
going above and beyond in the episode.
Yeah. You didn't
Yeah.
look at any mugshots, Heather.
Multiple times. No, definitely not multiple times either.
Wow.
But we'll get to that in the episode. But
Mhm.
yeah, luckily nothing as traumatic as what happens to Felicity with guns and getting thrown on the ground. And one of the robbers also yanks the necklace right off of her neck, and kind of is like, hey, don't do that. And he gets hit. I thought it was in the head, but then I think later they said his stomach hurts, so maybe he got hit
I
in the
feel like he
stomach.
got kicked, maybe. He was
Yeah,
down.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay, y'all. This was one of my hottest Ben moments. There was a tie. But I
On the
just really
ground?
loved his protectiveness when they went after her, and then that's when he started to get defensive, and that I found was just very sexy.
Man, I didn't mind. I sure didn't mind. I was sad for him, but I was like, yeah, that's nice.
Mhm.
So they unfortunately take her necklace, they steal a bunch of other stuff, and then we get into the normal intro and theme music. And next up we see that the police are swarming the apartment like it's an SVU murder scene in there. They're taking photos. There's like multiple cops there. I can tell you that's not what happens for burglaries. They don't do any like outlines of what was stolen and all that. They're just like, oh yeah, that sucks. Well, we probably won't catch them.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well, Law
Sorry.
and Order had been on,
Yeah.
came on the air in 1990, so had been on for quite a while at that point. So maybe they were inspired by other media at the time.
It was a crossover episode that they should have done
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, they could have had the Dick Wolf universe. That would have been cool.
Bum, 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 bum.
He
And
seemed,
then
I
the
really
Felicity
liked the
intro.
detective. He seemed like a Law and Order type of detective. I was like,
He
I
did.
love that New York detective vibe. He's really
Man.
Yeah.
leaning into that role. I love it.
He totally lives in Brooklyn, that detective, for sure.
He's seen some things.
It was a strong New York accent.
I loved it. I loved it. It was so good.
So Ben and Felicity are on the couch trying to talk to the cops and relay what happened, and that officer basically just says like, hey, I want you to come into the station to look at mugshots to see if they can recognize anyone, which again doesn't happen in real life. And the cop offers to take Felicity back to her dorm, and she kind of looks at Ben like, should I leave? Should I stay? And Ben's like, yeah, it's a good idea. You should go home. And Felicity's like, are you sure? Like, I can stay. It's like she's really concerned about him and wants to make sure he's okay. But yeah, Ben's like, no, you should go. And he just kind of looks very distressed, as Felicity also is just like, he doesn't look okay, but she does end up leaving with the cop. But yeah, Ben looks very upset. Obviously, he was just held at gunpoint.
Yeah. He just got kicked in the stomach.
Yeah.
He's not okay.
She didn't look half as upset as he did, though. She seemed more concerned about an opportunity for them to connect than what I've been. I was like, she's taking this way too well. Really, truly way too well.
You're right. It was almost like an opportunity.
Yeah, which is surprising. I'm sure she doesn't experience a lot of crime in Palo Alto.
She hasn't
California,
experienced
so-
anything, it seems. She seems so sheltered. And I really would have expected a bigger reaction. And I get why they did what they did, but I was like, she should be just a teeny bit more distressed, just a little bit, to be a little bit more authentic.
She was very concerned about him. Yeah.
About them.
But, you know who?
About becoming
About
a them.
Yes.
I think.
Like, now I'll stay and we'll talk. And yeah, she was concerned about them. But you know who else is concerned? Literally all of Felicity's friends.
Yeah.
So we see that in Felicity's room are Megan, Julie, Noel, and Elena. They're all frantic and talking. And Megan is, of course, overhyping the situation. She's like, I heard there were shots fired. I was talking to the guy in the mailroom, and he's like, congrats, you now have the largest single on campus. And so that freaks her friends out even more. And then the phone rings. And of course, Julie answers, and it's Dr. Porter. Go figure. And she hands the phone to Noel. She's like, you know what? Noel can handle this. So he gets on the phone, and he's trying to stall while they wait around for Felicity because she's obviously not there. And Megan
we're just all hanging out in your daughter's room just because.
We're just waiting for her, chilling here. And Megan kind of starts eyeing Felicity's side, which Elena calls her out on, like, you're checking out her part of the room, aren't you? She's like, what? No, I couldn't be. And this episode actually made me realize, I don't know if we ever gave a shout out in the earlier episodes to Megan, played by Amanda Foreman. I can't remember if we ever gave her a shout out, but she's just an absolute force of nature on this show. Her comedic timing and delivery is impeccable. And J.J. Abrams actually continued to give her small parts in his other work, like Alias and Star Trek and Star Wars. So just big shout out to Amanda Foreman. She's amazing in this show. Just hilarious. Every moment that she's in is funny. So then Felicity walks in, and of course they're all concerned about her. They heard already. Noel accidentally hangs up on Dr. Porter on the phone.
He's just like, he just walks and just hangs it up like he doesn't even care.
I mean, that's not what's most important right now. It's Felicity that's important. So yeah. So of course Felicity's like, oh, I'm fine, because everyone's fine on this show.
She excels at being fine.
Oh yeah. And then the phone rings, and it's her dad again, of course. And so they all kind of leave and let her talk on the phone with her dad. So then back at Ben's, it's I think the next morning, and we finally meet Sean Blumberg, who's his roomie. And he is played by Greg Grunberg, who's another one of J.J. Abrams' like repeat actors. He was also on Alias, and he had some small roles in Lost. I think he was on in the pilot. A pilot in the pilot, and then Star Wars and also Star Trek. So J.J. Abrams definitely likes to use the Felicity cast over and over again. And Sean is just kind of, he's just like a lovable, I don't know. He also always intrudes at the wrong moments. Like he's also very funny. But he, in this situation, is upset because the robbers took his idea journal. And we've heard from Ben in the past that he's like this quirky entrepreneur type guy. Mm-hmm. So apparently in this journal are all of his great business ideas and logos and things that he's thought of over like the last 10 years. And Ben and the other roommate, who I don't know if we learn his name, he's not important, but they're just kind of like, it's a journal, get over yourself. But Sean suggests that Ben should have tried to stop them. Like, oh, wasn't there anything you could have done to like
even try
and stop these guys? Like, this journal is the most important thing ever, rather than, him getting held at gunpoint. So Sean can be a little not self-aware sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that looked like it stung to go through that and almost be blamed. Like, kind of a way to blame the victim there. Not thinking about how he feels at all, how Ben feels at all. I mean, he did realize, though, he's like, oh, sorry, man. But it was like, you already said that stuff. You already made it clear where your priorities were.
Yeah, damage was done.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben just kind of walks away from that. But lovely moment to meet Sean finally. We will see much more of him in the show. And so back at the dorm, Felicity is with her friends again after the phone call, and she's sharing the details of the encounter. Everyone's just kind of trying to relate to her, I feel like, in this moment. Like, Noel brings up that he says a homeless person pushed him down when he was 12 and ruined his birthday cake, and like that was so traumatic for him. Which, okay, Noel, like, you don't have to bring up everything that has ever happened to you. But then Elena, in a brilliant point, said that for women, being held at gunpoint is just a whole different situation. And she said she was mugged and that happened. And then Pink Guy comes up to talk to Julie,
which
but he
really
also
pissed her off. You forgot her line delivery. She pissed me off.
Which really pissed her off, of course. Mm-hmm. Pink Guy comes up and he's about to talk to Julie, but he's like, oh, I heard what happened to you. Glad you're okay. I was held at knife point once. It's like everyone's kind of have to now put their story on there to relate to her. But he kind of pulls Julie away and asks her if she's ever seen The Exorcist. She's like, oh, it's been a while. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, it's playing at this one theater. She's like, that's cool. And then he's like, so you don't want to? She's like, don't want to what? Go with me. Like, yeah, he's just doing a really terrible job of asking her out. So yeah, bumbling. And she does say yes though. So they're going to go see The Exorcist since it's Halloween. And just most 90s moment, those butterfly clips are in full force in this episode for Julie.
I miss my butterfly clips.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, they're probably back. You don't have to like buy them on eBay or something vintage style. Like, they're here.
Yeah.
But it also wasn't just clips. It was like pigtails and butterfly clips. Like, it was an intense
It was. She does have kind of elaborate hairstyles as the show goes on with the clips. But the thing that I found really interesting about these two scenes, the contrast, she was surrounded by her friends and they're like, are you okay? Like, I've experienced this, and just trying to relate and support, and everybody's rallying around her, and, you know, cutting between that and Ben, and basically Ben getting blamed and he's not getting support, and she's got everybody rallying around her. She doesn't really need it. And Ben has nobody, no support, and he does very much need it. So I think that was a really nice contrast to set those scenes up against each other. Again, how different their experiences are, not just in how they received it, the event itself, but the aftermath.
That's a great point. And then later that night, Felicity is trying to sleep and it's a thunderstorm. So she's in bed. It's like the middle of the night and her phone rings. And who is it? But it's Ben. And he's like, hey, I'm downstairs, because he always whispers.
Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You can't be shouting. Come on. You can't be loud at that hour.
But they're on the phone. It's not like he's like outside her window shouting upwards like, hey,
no, you gotta whisper at 2 a.m. Gotta ease into a conversation at 2 a.m. Then you can turn the volume up a little bit later.
Okay. So she lets him up and they kind of meet on the lobby of her floor, and it's like after 2 a.m., but he thought she might be shaken up still, and he wanted to just come by and make sure that she was okay, which was very nice and sweet.
Yes, very thoughtful.
And so they end up talking that night. So we get a beautiful shot of their silhouettes in front of her rainy window in her room. Again, slow-mo, and they're talking really like intensely. And there's a lot of body language that's like they're leaning towards each other. He like reaches out and touches her leg. And so Felicity's probably just like seventh heaven. Like, she is like praying to the gods, thank you so much for this robbery, because now they can take us to the next level.
Yeah, which was a little psycho, but that's fine. We'll keep going.
And so then the narration, Felicity tells Sally that she heard that soldiers who have been in battle have a special bond. And she's like, I never really understood it until now. We're like, oh, yay, Felicity. Trauma bonding.
Yeah, that's the most healthy type of bonding there is. Haha. Nice score.
Great way to form a friendship. Then the next morning, Felicity obviously was up all night talking to Ben, so she's totally wired, but she has an interview at Dean and DeLuca, which is a coffee shop. Now, Dean and DeLuca exists in real life, but I think it's more of like a grocery store, kind of like a specialty food store. I don't know if they actually have coffee shops.
Well, I wanted to order some Dean and DeLuca mugs in honor of the show and everything, and just get in the mood. And they ship from Japan, so I feel like something shifted. Like the ownership and the way that they operate is maybe based in Japan now, and they might just do like homewares type of stuff. Or I don't think there's any actual coffee shops. I think they went in a different direction.
Yeah, it's kind of like Williams Sonoma, but more of like the specialty food rather than like appliances and things, I think. I don't think I've actually been in one, but I thought that Dean and DeLuca was just made up for the show.
Right, yeah.
You know, I was in middle school when the show started, and we didn't have them in Chicago and Illinois. And then the first time I ever went to New York and I saw one, I was like, those are real? Oh my God.
I remember seeing one in the background of like the Today Show. Whenever they do like performances outside, I would always see that and I'd be like, Felicity. But yeah, they're not there anymore.
So we finally see Dean and DeLuca. Felicity it'll be the setting of many, many episodes and scenes in the future. And we finally also meet the absolutely adorable and lovable Javier, who's played by Ian Gomez, in his iconic tinted glasses. He will never take those off. And he's just an awesome character. And I think, Joe, Your favorite character,
yes.
perhaps?
When we were talking about like, I'm Team Ben, I'm Team Noel, I wanted to shout out from the rooftops, I'm Team Javier. He's my favorite. I mean, him and Elena, between those two, I've got all my needs met. I love them. They're hilarious. I love Javier. He's funny.
He's the best. He's so sweet and so funny. He's just positive. I love his character.
He definitely brings the comedic relief on the show many times. So he's the manager of Dina DeLuca, and she's there for an interview, and she's kind of like tapping her pen, and she's really wired, and she's like, sorry, but I had a really amazing night last night. And Javier's like, oh, what happened? What happened? He's like, he wants her to dish already.
He's my kind of guy.
And so she tells, yeah. So she says she was almost killed in a robbery, but then she ended up staying up all night with this guy that she'd liked for a really long time. And her and Javier bond right away. He's like, oh, that's such a good feeling, right?
And he loves it. He's just feeding into all of this.
Oh, yeah. He's like, you're hired. So yeah, after a little bit of chatter about her prior work history at a plus-size store, Javier offers her the job. So we finally meet Javier and get Dina DeLuca in the show. We're already meeting more characters. Like, I still can't believe it took us till episode 5 to meet Sean and Javier, who are so big, like big parts of the show. So then at the dorms, we enter the men's bathroom and Elena bursts into the men's bathroom and we get our first thirst trap of Noel shirtless in the bathroom. I don't know what happened in the rest of the scene. Just kidding.
It was a bit distracting.
Noel can bring it too. Noel can bring
it. Can.
I know that Ben's the jock, but yeah, nerdy Noel can get it. So Elena is pissed because there was a witch decoration that was put on her door for Halloween. She's like, look, I could have gotten anything, could have gotten a pumpkin or a skeleton, but no, you gave me a witch. And she says that she hates Halloween. She's like, I don't think anyone actually likes Halloween. I was like, well, I like it. Like, why would I lie about something like that? Like, I like Halloween.
Like, what motive do I have to lie about that?
Like, what would be the point of that? So then he ends up asking her what she's doing for Halloween. She's like, I've got work to do, because she's just, one track mind about school and getting A's and being a doctor. And Noel's like, well, everyone has work to do. Like, I'm going to this party. You're
so
going to come.
Funny, though.
And she
says
because
yes. He's like, I have work to do. And she says, I have work to do. And he's like, well, we all have work to do. Yeah, but I actually do mine. Well, I'm going to the party. Do you want to go? Yeah. The way she says, yeah. Like, she actually was excited. He was really smooth in that scene, and that was just a really cute exchange they had.
Like their little friendship that they have over the seasons. There's just like cute little moments between the two of them. You wouldn't expect them to be friends, but it's sweet.
And this made me feel like maybe Elena's never been asked to go to parties in high school or asked to go trick-or-treating. Like, maybe she didn't have a ton of friends growing up, and so she's just like, oh, well, I hate Halloween, because she's never been invited. But the second Noel is like, oh, well, I'm going to this party, you want to come? She's like, yeah, like you said. Like, I think a lot of it was probably just trying to protect herself from being rejected, that she's just like, yeah, I don't like Halloween, I don't want to, I don't go for any of this. But the second someone asks her, she's like, oh yeah,
there was like a little hint, a little tilt of question in her voice, like, yeah, like, you're really asking me? Like, you're serious? Yes. Also, the other hilarious thing that Elena does, there's a guy actively at one of the urinals using it, and then he comes and goes next to them to wash his hands, and he kind of looks over at her, and she's like, it's cool, I'm with him. Like, that would actually make it cool.
I'm with him.
Like, that's okay all of a sudden. And then for any of us who are able to take our eyes off of Noel, you may have noticed a skeleton at one of the urinals.
Oh.
I did see that. It's like sitting in the urinal.
Yeah, I was right next to the guy who was using it.
Yeah. I'm like, that would reduce the number of urinals available. I don't know if I would decorate that way, but
they went for it. They're all in. They're all about Halloween here, I guess.
So yeah, we hear that there's going to be a Halloween party now, and Noel and Elena are going. But in the meantime, Felicity and Ben are still working through this robbery, and they go to the police station to look at mugshots. Ben is just like ripping through them in record speed, like flipping through this binder. He doesn't want to be there. Felicity tells him, like, slow down, take your time. He's like, well, none of them look familiar. She's like, well, you can't tell that if you're going so fast through them. Like, she's being such a goody two shoes. It's It's really funny. Like, do your homework, do it right. Don't do it if you're not going to do it right. And so then Ben says he has to meet some Paul guy and basically dodges the situation. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll come back tomorrow, sure." And he just kind of leaves Felicity there. And the cop says, like, "Look, this process can be difficult for some people." And Felicity still seemed kind of annoyed. She's like, "Oh yeah, apparently it is hard for some people."
Disappointed/annoyed.
So that was kind of the first sign in this episode that we see of Ben just kind of bailing on the follow-up here, I guess, to the
He's
to
not
the
going
robbery.
along with the plan of things deepening. He's not doing it right.
Oh, maybe he just doesn't want to sit there and look through binder after binder of mugshots.
Which doesn't happen.
In a city of 8 million people, probably at least 1 million criminals in that mix.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm on his side. You know, I'm just saying, it's like she's got some weird things in her head. It's very obvious, this whole thing.
Again, she's holding him to this expectation that he can't necessarily live up to. And then moving on to the evening, we see Pink Guy and Julie coming out of the theater where they saw The Exorcist, and they're kind of bantering about the movie, and Julie thanks him for not getting mad at her for spilling Coke on him, whatever, and thanks him for letting her hold his hand, which he asked her on a date. Why wouldn't he like that? And then he starts really nerding out on the film, like on the special effects and makeup and everything. Yeah, it's like, ugh, he's trying to mansplain movies to her. And then offers her his coat because she looks cold, and basically is like, "Oh yeah, you want to go get some food? Are you hungry?" And she says yes.
And I had a question here. Do any of us have a memory about the first time that we watched The Exorcist that you'd like to share? Because that's an iconic movie and it's Halloween. Have you seen it?
I don't think I've ever.
No, I knew it. I knew it.
Wait, let me finish. I don't think I've seen it all the way through. I do remember like watching bits and pieces of it when I was little, when it was probably on like HBO or something. And it scared me so much, so I didn't do the whole thing. But I do remember seeing some scenes from it.
It
was
is
freaky.
It is hella terrifying. I was, I think, in high school, and I saw it in a place that you would not think that I would have watched it. Church. I forgot, like, what, I don't know if it was for yeah, I saw it at church. I don't remember what it was for, but it was like a, you know, one of the youth group things, like spend the night at the church sleepover style type thing. Like nothing, it's church, nothing bad happened. And I'm not a super religious person, but this is, I guess, stuff that, you know, we did in church. And watch The Exorcist. I swear I did not sleep for like 2 weeks after seeing that movie.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. It's so old you think it would be cheesy. It's really scary.
All right, Dr. Rowe, why don't you tell us about your
what's your
it was at a sleepover.
Did you vomit pea soup or whatever?
No, it was like in middle school, a sleepover, and everybody was really scared. And I think somebody was too scared to go to the bathroom by themselves. It's like, I don't know that I want to stand in the bathroom with somebody else, but I'll stand right outside the door. It was one of those, like the level of fear was quite high. And to this day, if I hear the theme music for that, if I hear the score, it scares the bejesus out of me. Like it permanently is like one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, and I love it.
I don't do well with scary
I don't
movies.
Anymore.
Once was enough. I'll never watch that movie again.
I was actually one of the brave ones at the sleepover, but now as I've gotten older, I'm scared to even watch a trailer for a scary movie now. I can't watch them anymore. This thing like ruined me. I haven't been the same since.
I can do suspense thriller, but like horror, it just messes me up. Like Sixth Sense, I think I didn't sleep for 2 weeks after that as well. It's just, yeah, not good. So then we get back to Felicity's room, and she's reading some Edgar Allan Poe in her window nook, and it's all very, very spooky season. I want that window nook, and I want to read in it. Like, it's an amazing scene. Just her sitting there reading
Right,
Poe.
yeah, which is, he's more known for the spooky side, but this particular poem is a romantic poem, and it's still obviously about death because, you know, it has to be.
Still sad,
but it's actually one of his romantic poems, so I was like, oh, maybe we can have both. We can have spooky and romance. Let's see where the episode takes us.
Her professors were like, got the vibes right this week. They're like, you need to read Annabelle Lee this week. So while she's reading and analyzing Annabelle Lee, her phone rings again. And it's Ben downstairs again, whispering. I don't think it's 2 a.m. this time.
But it's late.
But as she is, it is, you're right, it is late, because as she leaves her room, puts on her coat to go meet him, Noel comes out of his room.
He just
always comes out of
emerges,
his room at the exact
He
time.
just materializes and he's there.
What, Felicity? You're in the hallway? What? And so he asks her if she's going out, and she says she can't sleep, but Noel's very protective, especially after what just happened, and he's worried about her going out alone. But I guess she kind of gets a little annoyed, like, Noel, stop, like, you're not my dad, and he tells her to just be careful.
Which I think
But
was warranted.
I can understand why Noel would
Yeah,
be.
'cause
Yeah, I can
I hope
understand.
Elena would have said the same thing. You know, Elena or Julie, if they saw her going out that late and this all had just happened, and even if this all hadn't just happened, she's just like, la la la, I'm going out in the middle of the night. I would hope somebody would be like, you good? Like, you meeting somebody? Like, or, you know, what's up?
Yeah, she probably didn't want to tell him that she was meeting Ben, but that would have cleared things. Like, I'm not going to be alone. Like, okay, cool. So then her and Ben go to his loft where they carve pumpkins by candlelight.
Oh, so romantic. I love it.
It's very cute. Non-date. So she kind of starts talking about the last time that she carved pumpkins, and Ben talks about this Halloween party that Sean is throwing at their place and invites her to come. He's like, yeah, it'll be a great time. I'm dressing up as Frankenstein. Then Felicity does as she does and proceeds to suggest that she dresses up as the bride of Frankenstein. And
That's
he very
bold.
graciously says, like, yeah, that'd be good. We'll hang out.
Yeah, he seemed like he was in a good mood at the time when she suggested that, so he didn't think like, oh girl, we're not getting married. What are you talking about, bride? He seemed like it was just like it would be a fun, cute costume, you know, like that'd be a cute.
But also, how does one tell a friend, like, no, don't do that? I don't know. I feel like that put him in such a weird situation. Like, no, don't do that would be really rude and mean to do to a friend. Like
it's definitely a couple's costume, though. It's not like he was like, I'm going to be an M&M. You should be an M&M too. It's like, you know. I don't know.
It's like even a salt and a pepper would have been a little bit pushing it, but yeah, if you're going full on bride, like you're going all the way.
So he, I guess, kind of agrees. Like, he doesn't tell her no, because I don't know how you would do that.
I think he thought it was a little bit cool.
Now she's got it in her head.
He's like, oh yeah, with the streak in the hair. Like, I think he thought it was a little intriguing, at least.
Yeah.
In the moment, yeah. While they're in this little candle lit.
In their little carving pumpkin bubble. Yes. So then she changes the subject and asks him, like, hey, well, so what's going on with you? Like, what happened with the mugshot thing when you left? And he said that he was fine. So he didn't really want to open up about it. So Felicity's like, all right, maybe if I divulge something, he'll start opening up. So she explains that the necklace that the burglars took from her was her grandmother's, and it was passed down to her mom, who then passed it down to her at 13, and that her mom said it was good luck, which is very ironic given the situation. And Ben says,
but maybe it was good luck because this was the catalyst that brought Ben and Felicity together finally.
Taking it to the next level, having conversations. Yeah. And so to her point there, Ben says that he hasn't felt like that in a long time, but doesn't really say more. And Felicity prods him, like, well, what do you mean by that? And he changes the subject and is like, oh, no, nothing, never mind. And they light their candles to put in their pumpkins. And they have a cute little moment where they're both like giggling at the pumpkins that they carved.
So adorable when
it was a very sweet.
Yeah,
it was a sweet moment.
Little giggles at the pumpkins. He just seems so innocent and childlike in that moment, and sweet stuff.
Melissa's got no words.
I love it. I've already decided I'm going to set up the same scene for my husband and I, and for a couple weeks from now, we're going to do a pumpkin carving date night and just have candles everywhere.
Excellent.
Aww. That's so cute.
Talk about how we were robbed once.
Yeah, make something up.
And I'll be in my Subway costume. Oh boy. So then Felicity kind of, tries to get a little more vulnerable again to get him to open up and says that, she thought that before you die, your whole life is supposed to flash before your eyes. But for her, that didn't happen. Instead, she had these really stupid concerns that popped into her head while she was, down on the ground, like, oh my God, we're not going to be able to finish our assignment. Or what if she doesn't get the job at Dean and DeLuca, and little things like that. So then Ben decides maybe she is a safe space, and he finally opens up a little bit about his dad and says that growing up, he never really knew what would set his dad off. Like, alcohol was definitely a problem, but besides that, it was like living with a ticking time bomb. And he actually came to New York to stop feeling unsafe like that. And that was really sad because now this happened and he was trying to escape this feeling. So
Sad.
that very, very little nugget was very telling of, the whole episode of why Ben is the way he is.
There's a lot underneath, which is what I was saying this whole time. There's a lot more underneath that good looking face.
Exactly. This was my tie for my hottest Ben moment because the look that he gave her before he started talking, it was just this sweet, vulnerable, like wide-eyed. You could tell he thought for just a second, should I say this? And then he did, and it was just so honest. And Scott Speedman did such a great job with his facial expressions in this scene. I just loved it all.
Yeah, you could like see him working through it. Like, is this okay for me to share? Were we good enough? Do I trust her? Like, you could see that all happening within like a couple of seconds on his face. It was amazing.
And
then unfortunately, the lights come on. Sean Blumberg interrupts them.
Yeah.
As he will do.
Grabs the nearest box of takeout and starts just digging in, eating it.
Like, hey guys, what you doing? Chinese food? Sounds cool. Oh wow, those look great. He's like a little puppy dog, kind of. But it kind of wakes them out of their little bubble. It's like Ben's walls go back up. Yeah, the spell is broken. And he's like, hey, yeah, we were just finishing up. Sean, call Felicity a cab.
Quick.
And Felicity's like, wait, man, like we were just getting good.
He's like, exactly. Get out.
Yeah. Yeah. Abort. So then Felicity's like, well, are you okay? Like, because we could talk
totally
some more.
Stay up.
I'm
already gonna.
Like, she's so thirsty. And he's like, nah, I just need some sleep. So then she leaves in the taxi, but she was ready to stay up all night, every single night this week with him.
I was thinking when I was watching kind of reviews and preparing, it's just such a Felicity response to have for her to think about things like, oh, I wonder how I did on that test, and just like little trivial things instead of the classic life flashing before your eyes moment. And I think that they did this on purpose to, again, intentionally get the difference in their reactions to what happened. Like, her stuff is so superficial and so trivial, and he's like talking about how horrible, what's going through his mind was how horrible his childhood was. So very, very different. Was again highlighted here.
It's kind of like Noel said in one of the first 2 episodes, like, she's a baby chick, right? Like, she's not experienced much. And so for her, the worst thing that I'm thinking about at this moment is not finishing my homework, like the horror. And he's relating it to, a potentially violent father. So, and then Ben is supposed to meet Felicity at the police station, and she's kind of sitting at the station, looks like waiting around for him. I think she tells Sally that they were supposed to meet and even grab food after or go to
Which is kind of a big deal. Central Park, like that would kind of mean something if they went there together. He like not a maybe date, but that definitely is like an event. That's not just hanging out at the dorms. Like, that's like going out. But it's like a next level.
Well, and
it
wasn't just and it wasn't just let's go look at more mugshots. It was like they planned more after that to hang out and do things. Yeah.
Yeah, she had probably already like bought tickets for a carriage ride for the 2 of them or something.
Right there, I could totally see that. Yeah, yeah, because that's really a big buildup. If you think about what Central Park means, like I just even hearing that for me, I was like, oh, that would be a little bit on the romantic side if they like went and hung out and took a stroll through the park. And imagine where her mind went if that's where mine. Exactly, I was thinking picnic. I'm seeing picnic, so you can imagine what was going through her mind if I was thinking that. And I'm not in love with Ben. In a little bit, but not like her.
Yeah, but unfortunately he ghosted, didn't show up, and there were no cell phones and texting back then, so he didn't just like couldn't send her a quick text like, hey, something came up. Like, he just didn't show. And again, like, just now that this is the second time she's going in to look at mugshots, and the chief or whatever officer, he's like, oh, did he come? Oh, all right, well, let's start looking through this stuff again. Like,
Yeah, that's a very thorough effort.
I doubt the NYPD spends this much time investigating a robbery. Like, they've got way bigger fish to fry.
I don't know. Maybe Sean put in some calls and was like, "You all better find my idea book, or else." Yeah,
like millions.
He probably convinced them of that. Oh, we gotta find this book.
So then back at the dorms, we see Noel stops by Elena's room, and she apologizes to him for freaking out about the witch decor. And she explains that her dad never really let her go out for Halloween, that he thought it was dangerous, so she never really got the holiday. She like didn't get the fun of it. And Noel's like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. he's like over it at that point. He's like, but look what I've got for you. He unveils the costumes, the matching costumes that he got for them. And they are the subway employee uniforms. And I'm just dead. Like, he thinks this is hilarious. He's like, yeah, my buddy works there. Aren't they great? It's so funny. And Elena's like, I hate Halloween. That sucks.
Yeah, that's not a good way to get her to buy into the whole holiday with those outfits, those costumes. I think you could have had something a little more creative to kind of get her into the spirit. But sure, yeah, subway costumes. Let's go. Subway uniforms. Let's do this.
And I think it's funny. Like, she said she would go to the party, but where in there did she say, yes, I will do matching Halloween costumes for her?
Like, maybe he knew that he had to provide something because she doesn't know how to Halloween. So he had to come up and provide the costume for her as a courtesy.
But like baby steps. You're getting her to the Halloween party. Maybe wait on the subway costume.
It was sweet.
And to make matters worse, Noel says he has to run to an emergency RA meeting about bulimia or something. But he said that like it'll be an hour. I'll meet you at the party. So now she has to go to the party alone and show up wearing this ridiculous costume. And now we get another college party. So this time it's at Sean and Ben's loft. And we see Felicity and Julie arrive. Felicity is just absolutely epic in her Bride of Frankenstein costume. Like, I wonder how much product they had to use to get her hair to stand up like that. I mean, it could be a wig, but it looked like her hair color. I feel like texture, they totally could have done that
with her hair.
I think it's real.
They just tease it and do all the product. They totally could have used her real hair. I believe this. I tried to Google it. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find anything. I want to know the answer, but thus far I have not found anything.
If only social media existed back when the show aired, we would know so much more. And then Julie is dressed as Catwoman. So they're getting drinks, and then Felicity sees a Frankenstein in the crowd. So she goes up to him like, hey, Frankenstein, it's your bride. And she thinks it's Ben. But then Frankenstein lifts up his mask and he's like, no, it's Andrew. And so she's like, oh, sorry, I thought you were Ben. Yeah. But then Julie spots Ben and the pink guy chatting in the distance, and they go up to them. But much to Felicity's disappointment, Ben is wearing a
looks
suit.
Good in.
Like a business suit.
Yeah.
Good. It's like, not a
doesn't look like much of a costume, in my opinion.
No.
It's not an anything. He just wanted to look good. That's it. So then she asks him, like, hey, what happened to Frankenstein? And he explains that Sean decided that they should all go as the Rat Pack. Like, well, classic Ben. He just does something and doesn't tell her and backs out of the thing that they had discussed previously. And I guess Ben and Pink Guy are friends now too, for some reason. Like, they're chatting, and Pink Guy, I don't know, he's dressed like he's on a safari or something, maybe. I didn't get his costume.
Yeah. You don't have to do much for that. You just get one of those hats and you're pretty much good to go. Not very creative at all.
You'd think he used some trench coats or something from his movie then.
Yeah, you're right. That would have been something a little bit more. He could have. You'd think a filmmaker would be a little bit more creative.
He could have dressed as like bubblegum or something pink. Like, he's got enough pink clothes. Like, use it. Use it. Yeah. But Julie grabs Pink Guy and they go off to get a drink or something, and Felicity's pissed.
Especially because Sean comes up and is like, there's no more. Courtney Love, right? That was so funny. Oh my gosh, I died when he said that because she's just so disgusted and pissed. That just makes it even worse. That makes everything worse. Not only are you a groomless bride of Frankenstein, now you're Courtney Love.
Well, yeah, because without the Frankenstein, she's so like you don't have the additional context.
And unfortunately, Courtney Love got a lot of judgment Carmen as a wacky lady back in the 90s.
I would have just gone up to the other Frankenstein, just started like grinding on him, like, yeah, this is my boyfriend. Yeah.
Well, they do socialize a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe that's the plan all along. Like that's how you meet
Mm.
someone at a party, is like go as a couple's
know.
costume looking for
Looking
the
for your
other
match.
corresponding costume.
Brilliant.
You both don't need to worry about this anymore, but I need to know the strategies
This is
still.
a good plan. All right, you have some time, Heather.
I'll be looking for my
There you
other
go.
Subway employee. So, meanwhile, at the party, Elaine is by herself, dressed up as a Subway employee, plastic gloves and everything, and she's on the phone yelling at Noel that she's pissed because everyone is ordering subs from her. They think she's a real Subway employee, and she tells him to get his ass down to the party. I don't know if she's leaving a voicemail or if she's actually talking.
Yeah, it's hard to
live to him,
tell
but
because
she's
it could go
like,
either way. She's
yeah,
just yelling,
but she's like,
like going on a
"Get your
little
ass
rant. So
here."
that could totally be a
Yeah.
rant, a live rant, or a message rant.
And so as she hangs up the phone, another guy dressed as the Tin Man comes up to her and takes the phone. He's like, I need to check my messages, which is another very
Yeah.
90s moment because kids, if you didn't know this, there was like a machine with a
Another
cassette
cassette
tape that you had to leave, another cassette tape, and you left your messages. And I guess you could dial your own phone number and press a certain number and then listen to your messages. I don't even, like, that's even kind of a little before my time. I don't know if I ever
Yeah.
remember checking my messages. But as they're, handing the phone over, they kind of lock eyes and he introduces himself as Blair. So we've got some eyes happening between the two of them. Then back to Felicity. She's definitely still in her feelings, and Ben is now chatting with and flirting with the Pink Power Ranger, which I
Yeah, that
love
was
this
cool.
Easter egg. Like, I just think Amy Jo Johnson was the Pink Power Ranger, so I love that, like, now another girl that he's flirting with is
Yes,
the
love
Pink
it.
Power Ranger, since he was pursuing Julie before. So now Felicity's like, hey, we need to talk, of course. He's annoyed.
Yeah, well,
Like,
she
what?
kind of forcefully,
Like a child, like,
well,
what do you
'cause,
want,
yeah, she does go
Mom?
up to him like a mom.
I know.
Like, we need to talk. You're at a party. You're at a college party. Everybody's drinking, having a good time, dancing, talking, mingling. We need to talk. Oh, why right now? Like, that's kind of a buzzkill. So I could see why he was annoyed, because why is that the time and the place? You've both been drinking. It's loud. It's a party. It's not just the dorms. Like, oh, hey, there's no hey. There's no hey. It's just, we need to talk. It's too serious.
Yep. And Felicity asks him, what's going on? Like, what about the Frankenstein? Like, what happened? And he's like, nothing. I'm just hanging out. Like, nothing's the matter. So he is avoiding a little bit in the situation. Like, he knows what he did. But also, yeah, he's at a party. Like, he doesn't care. He's flirting with the Pink Power Ranger. He's having fun at this party.
He's
at
being
his
a college
place.
student.
So yeah, he's
just being a guy, hanging out.
And we hear from her that not only is she mad about the Frankenstein situation, but she's also pissed that he ghosted her at the police station. And he just kind of gives an excuse that he had to set up for the party and walks back to the Pink Power Ranger and Sean. And so Felicity didn't really get any resolution there. So she decides, like a good college student, to drink away her problems and get drunk.
Yeah,
it's Halloween.
And then outside the party, we've got Pink Guy and Julie out on like a fire escape staircase, kind of, and they're chatting about his movie. How's it going? He says it's not going well. Surprise, surprise. But now it sounds like he's making a documentary. He was like, he interviewed some woman who's afraid of electricity or something. I'm like, wait, what happened to the film noir detective?
Maybe it's
movie
an assignment.
So maybe he's making multiple movies. Yeah. And he tells her that he likes her costume. And then there's a little bit of awkward silence of just like looking and smiling at each other. And he moves in for the kiss. But after a tiny little peck, Julie kind of pulls away and says, oh, I'm going to go back upstairs. Oh, can I get you anything? And he says, a noose. Which, that's just not cool.
That's so ugly.
I mean, she just kind of laughs awkwardly because, yeah, like, what do you say when and then goes back in. Both of them annoy me in this moment. So I don't know. So back in the party, Felicity is now wasted.
That didn't take long.
And she's talking to Frankenstein again. She found her. Yeah. Well, I don't think she's used to drinking, so it probably didn't take much. So she's talking to Frankenstein, and then she's like, I gotta go to the bathroom to throw up. So as she's going to the bathroom, Julie walks in because she had her moment with Pink Eye outside and pulls Felicity over to tell her that Pink Eye kissed her and she freaked out, which is so like me. And in this moment, I mean, we even talked in the last episode about she's very like
Hot and
like
cold,
she's just very
yeah.
confusing. Yeah, hot and cold,
Push
and
pull.
she dates everyone and never breaks up with them, but also doesn't want to date Ben. And so even in this moment, it's just, I'm just wondering if she has some sort of past trauma with men. Like it can't just be the adoption stuff. Like to me, her behavior
Yeah.
is so confusing, and she said that freaking out is so like her, but then in the last episode she said she just dates all the guys and lets them break up with her. So I don't know, again, very confused by Julie's behavior.
But I would agree there's probably something in her background that we're not privy to yet.
And yeah, so like we don't really know why she freaked out, because Felicity's like, oh wow, like I want to care about this, but I really need a bathroom. And her comedic drunk acting was very funny in this episode. So on her way to the bathroom, Julie's like, yeah, go for it, we can talk later. So on her way to the bathroom, she's like going in and trying all the different doors, trying to find the bathroom. And on her way, she, in another door, sees Ben is making out with the Pink Power Ranger. And she's crushed again, like every episode. And now she's drunk, which does not help things at all. So she runs and leaves the party, and she's crying. She runs back to the dorm, into her room, and she's crying. And Noel, of course, comes in his subway costume because he hadn't made it to the party yet. And he's wearing the gloves and everything, and he asks her if she's okay, which she obviously isn't, but she's like, oh, just go away. And he tells her, no, it's okay, like you can talk to me, I just want to help. So they sit down on the floor together and they're having a heart-to-heart, and he's like, so is this about Ben? She's like, no. Yeah. She tries to deny it at first, but Noel's not buying it. She says, yeah, she saw Ben kissing the Pink Power Ranger. And she just catastrophizes and says, have you ever felt like there's no solace in anything? Like wherever you turn, you're just lost? I've never felt so lost in every conceivable way before. Okay, help me, go, start. Just so funny because, like she just wants Noel's advice, and it's just funny that he's kissing the Pink Power. Like they're not dating. He's living his life, and she's like, there's no solace in anything.
That escalated.
And Noel says, okay, well, let's just forget about Ben for the moment. You need to focus on yourself. This awful thing just happened. We get the big speech from Noel. Every episode, we get the big speech from Noel. So this awful thing happened. There's a dark cloud hovering. You're feeling weak. You're feeling vulnerable, but you're forgetting who you are. You're a strong, independent, beautiful woman. You're going to be more than fine. And she's just kind of like staring at him and probably a little woozy and tipsy. And her makeup is smeared all over her face, which is also just funny. Like her mascara is all down her face, and they're having a really sweet moment. She's like, oh, you really think I'll be okay? He's like, yeah, I do. And then Felicity pukes all over him, which changes his entire outlook on her. And good thing he's wearing those subway gloves. Yeah, not her best moment.
No, but everyone has to have their drunken, puking college party night. It's just an experience.
Growing up.
Yeah, and she didn't really get to party much at her first college party, so
she went all in.
This one, Then the next morning, Noel goes to Elena's room to apologize because he was a no-show, and she's doing everything she can to like keep Noel quiet and not open the door the whole way. And it's because the Tin Man is inside and she doesn't want to wake him. So her night turned out okay, even though Noel didn't show up. And I like that their friendship is developing more and more here. Like they both just kind of like smile and laugh at each other. He's like, oh, okay, like, well, careful, he doesn't have a heart, and like walks away. So
Yeah.
They're joking. It's really cute.
It was so funny too, because I saw him kind of like start to laugh immediately after he found out who it was, and he was just waiting to deliver that joke when he walked away. Like he totally was sitting on that, like he thought of it instantly, and was so pleased with himself for making that, giving her that line.
Well, and she didn't say like, oh, this guy named Blair. She's like, the Tin Man. Like she tells him it's the Tin Man too, which is funny.
So he immediately latches onto that and has to make like a dad joke.
Then in English class, Felicity charges in and goes up to Ben, who's just like chilling,
sitting there minding
the
his
way
business.
He's sitting, I don't know. It's just he looked like he looked like he ruled
Not
the
a care in the
school. He's like,
world.
yo, what's up, man? Like, hey, how you do it? Yeah, like he's great. And she just like runs up to him and she calls him out. She's like, we had a moment. I know what you're doing. We had a moment together and it freaked you out, and now you're pulling away from me. And she, like kind of walks away from him, and they meet up again and they're talking, and she calls him out on the Frankenstein costume. Like, we had planned to do that, and you're calling me at 2 a.m. all the time. And like, what's this about? He's like, oh, I was worried about you. She says, no. You were worried about yourself, and you were scared and alone. And the next time you're scared and alone, you should call the Pink Power Ranger. Which was funny. And Ben, follows her, is like, hey, not everyone is as sensitive as you and judging everyone. And Felicity admits, she says, I don't judge everyone. I only judge
There it
you.
is.
At least she's self-aware.
Sometimes.
That she does this.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And Ben calls her out on that, and he's like, well, I can't live up to that. Like, I'm, like you said, I'm a college kid. I can make out with whoever I want. Not everything has to have this big meaning to it. Like, yeah, we had a nice moment, but it doesn't mean anything. And he just kind of walks away. And Julie, who's sitting a few rows up, which is weird, like not by Ben and not by Felicity, like Felicity doesn't sit by her. It's just weird, but you can see she overheard their conversation. So I don't know. I can see Ben's point, but I can also see Felicity's
Well, let's
point in this
pretend
moment.
that all this happened, that Elena and her were supposed to have matching costumes, and Elena started making out with Blair, and Felicity saw that. Do you think Felicity would go off on Elena the way she went off on Ben?
I think
I mean, she probably would have been like, hey, I thought we were
she would have
wearing
gently
matching
said that. She
Yeah.
wouldn't have been like, we need to
But-
talk, at the
Yeah,
party, and she wouldn't have accosted her.
and if Elena had repeatedly ghosted her on other things, and then they had like a great friend night.
Well, look
I
how
don't know.
much
It's
slack
just
she
different.
cuts Julie, though,
Yeah.
when
If it's
Julie
Elena, it's
is
just different.
messing up, and she's going out of her way to offer her dryer sheets, for example. She goes out of the way to repair with somebody else who blatantly like dissed the friendship. But with Ben, she's like, like in his face about it. And I think it's just a really, really unfair standard she's holding him to. And I think he's right to say, yeah, I can't live up to that, because they're not dating. He can kiss whoever he wants at a party, and yeah, he shouldn't have blown her off, but that doesn't kind of warrant her being like, next time you need a friend, go call the Pink Power Ranger. Like, that's not fair. You can't say you want to be friends with somebody and then not be a good friend to them and push them away and make them even more uncomfortable. Like, he's already, that I don't think she can appreciate, obviously, how vulnerable he was in sharing that little nugget with her. It meant more to her that they were getting closer and not the actual content of what he shared. Like, that's a big deal. And she's not being a really good friend to him either by not kind of being more supportive.
That's true.
So
that makes sense. She knew what he said about
she
his
doesn't
dad,
care.
and
It's just making it about her.
Yeah.
And about what could have been
Yeah.
between them, and not about, like, he's obviously got a trauma history, even if he didn't spell that out. Yeah, they're both kids and they're not maybe articulating all of that, but she really went off the rails and was really selfish, and she wasn't a good friend to him either.
I think the fact that he knows that she has feelings for him, though, like, I just keep going back to that, because he knows she's going to, like he already says, oh, not everything has to have this big meaning, but he knows that about her, that she does find meaning in all of these little things. And so
he's not responsible for regulating her feelings, though.
Yeah, but just don't do it. Like, if you can't pull yourself back and like not touch her arm and not like, oh yeah, we'll do a bride and Frankenstein,
that was her idea,
matching outfit, and then go.
She's the one who said bride.
I know, but he agreed. And then he ghosted her at their little Central Park hangout. Like, I think also just the fact that he knows that she has deeper feelings for him, he should just be more aware of what he's doing, or like, don't hang out with her then. Like, if you can't pull that back, I don't know. I think he leads her on a little bit in those moments, just like Julie, like hot and cold in moments. And I don't think
probably
it's fair
leads her on a little bit, but I think,
yes, she also, if she wants to be, if she says she's okay with being just friends with him, she then,
being just
also
friends.
has to accept that he might make out with the
because she
Pink Power
wouldn't get
Ranger.
mad if she saw, like, if Julie did happen to make out with Pink Eye, or she saw Elena making out with the Tin Man, like she wouldn't have had that strong reaction. So yeah, there's some other stuff going on, obviously, like, you know, like you said, like some breadcrumbing, some like little, you know, a touch here, a touch there, a laugh here, a laugh there, but I don't think it warrants that reaction, and I think she was kind of selfish.
Yes. Well, she is an only child, right? So I think
And he is too, apparently, because
There
he
might
never
be
had a
some of that.
brother. Oh,
Oh yeah.
but I think I also thought it was interesting.
I'm trying to think in the rest of the show, though. Is he an only child?
Well, because of his
Yeah, I
essay,
think
like
so.
he's definitely.
Oh yeah, Noel has a brother.
I was thinking he regressed a little bit after that traumatic incident. He was very childlike when they were doing pumpkin carvings, kind of more like a kid thing to do. I mean, obviously adults can do it too, but just like that little bubble that they were in, and him, like his little innocent laugh and all that stuff. And then he had a different persona at the party, and I think he must have had to do that often because he was voted most popular. So it's really interesting that he could be having whatever home experience he was having with this ticking time bomb situation and still be most popular. So his guard is up and he's performing constantly if he was able to accomplish that superlative title. So I think there's not enough appreciation for what he has to go through to show up and have a certain persona or have a certain presence to be functional around other people. So that may be some of the like touch here and touch there. Maybe he's used to kind of like playing things up a little bit and acting a little bit more normal or acting a little bit like more sociable than he really feels on the inside.
Always so wise.
I know.
Well, you've got well, yeah, because I'm like a film and TV geek nerd person too, and I've got the psych, so you're getting a double whammy because I'm like really into the show. I'm into shows, period, and I'm obviously gonna analyze the shit out of everybody.
Love it.
I absolutely love it.
Like, I looked up that guy that he was talking about when he was talking about the makeup effects people. I looked up both of the people he mentioned like for quite some time, and I went down a little rabbit hole and found out a whole bunch of stuff about them. I love this shit.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Exactly. Anyway,
Dr. Joe was like researching all the subway outfits for every year
Yeah.
of the 90s to compare and contrast
you know it.
uniforms.
So then in 2001, they changed from
Yeah.
purple to yellow.
I would. I haven't, but that's
Love that.
And then Dean and DeLuca
Yes,
changed
yeah.
business ownership.
I
in
did find that
2003.
shit out. Yeah, you're right. I'm crazy too. Yeah.
No, we need it. It's great.
So just some things to think about.
It just adds another layer. So then Felicity tells Sally, I guess this conversation with Ben was very enlightening because she tells Sally that she had an epiphany that she's been acting insane and obsessive about a guy that's just a guy and that she needs to let it go.
But she's been telling her he's just a guy. He's been trying to say that this whole time since day one, since the pilot. He even self-identified as a shallow loser. Like, he's been trying to tell her this whole time he's just a regular dude, and she's forcing something else on him, forcing some magical, spectacular identity on him, and that ain't it. That's not real.
And dear listener, she did not let it go. No.
Spoiler alert, she did not, in fact, let it go. Good one.
But also we did see this happen last week as well, where he lied about the track team and not getting on. So I think maybe she is starting to realize a little bit more and more.
Just a
like,
human,
he is just
regular
a dude
human who has
He's
flaws
gonna make out,
and secrets.
Yeah. He's going to make out with Power Rangers, and he can, right? So she claims, though, that she finally realized she's insane.
Well, she said it, not me. No, I did call her crazy many times. But I'm glad she said it.
No, you said it many.
Taking some ownership for once. Good job.
Then at Ben's loft, Ben and Pink Eye are playing video games. I guess they're friends now.
Well, you're going to be friends with somebody who's got a PlayStation. Like, that's who you get to be friends with. that's a social connection there. You don't have to be friends to play PlayStation together.
It is funny that they kind of tried to cover up a plot hole by like, oh yeah, it's funny that the robbers didn't take your PlayStation. Like, good thing. It's like, yeah,
but the idea book that got snatched up.
Yeah.
That high value item.
Yeah, like that would have been taken for sure. So Pink Eye asks him though about Julie because they kind of went out. Ben's like, well, we hung out a couple of times, but they didn't really date, obviously. But Pink Eye says that he kissed her and she shut him down. And so he's just kind of looking to Ben for advice, I guess, wondering if he should give it another try, but he doesn't know if that's what Julie really wants. Ben just kind of in that
I gotta
moment,
go for a walk.
Like, all right, I gotta go take a walk. He's like, I'm not not here to give you advice
That
on
was so
Julie.
funny. He just like, bye. Guess we're not playing this game anymore.
But like Pink Eye, like
Yeah.
what an idiot. Like, oh, you dated her. What should I do? Like, what?
Yeah, Pink Eye. You're so dumb. Ugh.
He's not smart.
Mm-mm.
So then Pink Eye's like, all right, yeah, I should go work on my shitty movie too anyway. So he goes to his film, what is it, a studio? I don't know
Editing
what to call
room.
it. So he's in his room working, editing room, sure, the editing floor. And Julie comes in to talk to him. And, he's kind of apologizing for kissing her and I shouldn't have done it. It was spontaneous, blah, blah. And she's like, look, you treat me like an actual person. And then she got freaked out when he kissed her, but she got a chill. I don't know. She's like, oh, I don't want to mess up what we have. And he apologizes. He's like, it was an impulse and I'm not the most experienced guy. And he just kind of starts rambling, but Julie's giving him the eyes and she kisses him to shut him up. So she does like him. And I guess what freaked her out is, again, messing things up with a guy that she likes, because she was saying that was her excuse for not dating Ben too. But for Pink Eye, I guess she wants to move forward. So that's that.
Well, she could do better, but
yeah. And we don't even like her that much.
I know.
But he's a dud. And then we get our end of the episode slow-mo shots of Ben, who's kind of outside. He's walking around, looks like Central Park, and he makes his way over to Felicity's, and he's knocking on the door, and she's not there, but Noel comes out, he walks by, tells Ben, like, she's not there, and, Ben's like, well, where is she? Like, are you going to tell me where she is? And Noel's being protective, because obviously Felicity divulged to him the night before that like she's upset because he's making out with the Pink Power Ranger. So even though they're not really dating, Noel still feels protective of her, and basically he's like, look, bro, she's my friend, I don't want to see her get hurt. And I think Ben kind of realizes like, okay, yeah, you're being protective. Like, I get it. I know I kind of messed up before, but I want to talk to her and make things right. So we're assuming Noel tells Ben that she's at work, because then we go to Dean and DeLuca, and Ben comes in and tells Felicity he wants to talk to her. She just kind of gives him the cold shoulder. And so then to get her to talk to him, he buys 2 coffees to get to like sit down with her and have coffee on her break. So she's still mad, but Ben, apologizes for being a jerk and basically says like, you're right, I pushed you away. He explains that he has a hard time letting people, whatever. So he doesn't finish his sentence, but we get that he's like, he doesn't let people in, and then says, especially people that make him nervous.
Ooh.
And this was I thought for sure, Melissa, that this was going to be your hottest moment of the episode.
Yeah,
when
thought
she
it
says,
was no, I don't.
And because she goes like, what? No, I don't make you nervous. He's like,
yeah, that moment when he says,
you
you do, that smile.
Oh
and, oh my gosh, that was good.
All right, that's another one. Yeah, there's just too many in this episode.
That was good,
I
I thought for sure that would be the one too, because I was like, woo.
Not like face down on the floor getting robbed. But you do you. That's fine.
You know what? It was protectiveness. Yeah.
It was emotional.
And she was
very
while he's trying to like tell her all this stuff and apologize, she's got her arms crossed. I don't know if y'all noticed her body language, but her arms were crossed and her legs were crossed. She was very closed off to this. She was still not having it until,
I mean, she ignored him a lot when he was trying. He's like, please let me talk to you. Like, I just want to, okay, now I'm going to buy coffees. I'm a customer.
Gonna
you
have 2
to talk
coffees.
to me. Like, she didn't want to talk
really
to him.
blocked off.
So then to, I guess, show her that he's serious about his apology, he slides a little gold box over to her on the table, and she opens it, and inside finds a silver necklace with a triangle charm on it. And, he's like, I know it's not your grandma's, but here's a new necklace. And he's like, and we can go back to the police station. We'll look at those mugshots. So he's trying to make it up to her for sure.
Amazing. All right, guys, I've already found a silver triangle necklace on Etsy, and I'm like 90% sure I'm going to buy it for myself.
Oh my gosh. Make sure they have more in stock. I want one too.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, you guys, you can have your Dean and DeLuca mug, and I'll wear my necklace.
Oh yeah, okay.
So we all have
find a
our
Subway hat.
objects. Heather, you have to find something.
I gotta find a hot object. And so then she's kind of trying to put the necklace on, and it slips, and so he gets up And he's like, here, let me. And he puts the necklace on her, and we get some neck touching with his fingers. And as we fade out, we get some more slow-mo of them talking, which to me is another great callback to the first 2 a.m. phone call with the silhouette of them talking with the rainy window. Now they're talking like closely and intimately in the window of Dina DeLuca. So I thought it was just another beautiful moment to like, hey, maybe they're back
Get
to
in
the
there,
place
yeah.
that they were
Yeah,
that
good
night.
catch.
So then as they are talking, we hear Sally's tape back to Felicity, and she basically says, yeah, that trauma bonding stuff is real, but eventually the battle ends and those who survive go home and try to make sense of it all. And she says that the guy Emmett, who asked her out before, she says that she hasn't told him yet about her fiance passing away. And she says that we all have our own war stories, but they're meant to be shared. They have to be, because these stories are what bring us together and they keep us alive.
Deep.
And that's really beautiful, because this whole episode really was about them opening up and sharing stories with each other.
And also, I'm obsessed with the song that was playing over their scene. It's called All I'm Thinking Of, and it's by Tyrone Wells. And yes, I did play it on repeat because that's my style. That's what I do.
I'll have to listen to it again.
Oh, I love it. My friend and I had her watch this episode with me when she was visiting, and she's like, what is this song? And I was like, I know, right? And we played it when we went for a drive. We just had it on. That's good. It's a good song.
Can you sing a little bit just to jog my memory?
Nope.
Quick.
Absolutely not. You know, we don't have the rights to that, and I don't want to get dinged, you know. I can't do it.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get in trouble.
Too similar.
It's going to sound exactly
Yes.
the same, and they're going to come after us for
Yeah,
copyright
we can't risk
infringement.
that.
Oh, man.
No, but we could maybe put together a Felicity playlist for all of our listeners.
That's a good idea.
I've found some playlists already. But we have to curate our own.
We'll put one together.
Yeah.
It'll be the
obviously.
best one.
But
out
yeah,
there.
I was digging in the
For
music
sure.
because oftentimes they have different music on the streaming service or the DVDs compared to the original airing. And this is a different song. And I did listen to the original song to try to see like, oh, I wonder if it was better. It was not. This one totally was way, 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 way better. So like you can't even compare.
Do they at least pick the new songs? Do they pick ones that were at least available back in like 1998 of that time, or are they newer
that
songs
I don't
too?
know. That I wasn't looking at, but they were tonally the same. Like the song that's playing when Ben is not making the track team, I was like, oh, this is very somber. I was like, I wonder what the original song was, and it was different, and it was tonally very similar, but obviously a different song. And this one, it was just off. The original was no good. I'm really glad they went with this song instead.
Well, now I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the Halloween episode again just to hear this song. And there were multiple hottest Ben moments this episode. We also had a new record for our hay counter. There were 20 hays.
Wow.
Ben, Felicity, Noel, Elena, like Pink Guy, everyone had multiple hays in this episode, which makes sense because there was a lot of talking in this episode too. A lot of conversations, a lot of we need to talk. So that made a lot of sense. And we also had a lot of really classic 90s moments, but not everything aged well. So I think this is maybe the first episode where I started to notice the angry Black woman trope coming in. They obviously, like, I love Elena as a character. I love her strength. But I think in this episode in particular, when she's freaking out about the witch decor, like, it just felt a little bit over the top for me. And I think that we've talked in previous episodes about how it's so great that JJ and Matt Reeves were able to write like the strong female characters. But in this case, I think they might have missed the mark a little bit. Yeah. Just like, I know she tends to kick butt. I do think they soften her up as the show goes on, but I think it is just worth calling out in this episode in particular that this trope exists in the media, and it's often used to discount a lot of the truths that Black women speak out on, and they have to work overtime to not sound too angry or be too loud just so that they can be taken seriously. So I am definitely not an expert. I think there are people out there that are much more well-versed in this than I am, but I just thought it was worth calling out that in this episode in particular, I felt like it was a little overdone and too stereotypical.
I really appreciate you pointing that out because as the only BIPOC person on this podcast, I'm like, do I have to be the one to say these things? Like, So I really do appreciate that you noticed that and that you acknowledged that and said, talked about this.
And I think for the late 90s, this is more of a diverse show probably than we had seen. Like Dawson's Creek, I don't really remember many people of color on the show. So I think it's great that there was more diversity on the show, but obviously they could have done better,
Of course.
Yeah, and wasn't it just the previous episode that we had met her, right? So we don't know any other details about her character yet. And this was kind of thrown in our face. So that was
right, because she was pretty pissy about the whole fridge thing, which was a little bit funny because she was talking about like sexual conspiracy, and that's kind of like silly. But yeah, there's potential for it to go too far and for it to come off the wrong way and be insensitive and just yuck.
I mean, she was pissed about the fridge and then pissed about the witch decor, and then even when they were saying she got mugged, she's like, which really pissed me off. And it's like, well, yeah she was mugged. Like that's an appropriate reaction, but
it was just highlighted a little bit differently,
calling the fact that she's mad about it. But I mean, I obviously still love Elena. I think she's, like I said, in the rest of the series, I think they do just make her more multidimensional and have more to her character and personality than just like being strong and potentially, overly aggressive. So, but I love Elena.
Same.
On that note, happy Halloween. I hope everyone has a spooky Halloween celebration. I might try and see if I can duplicate Felicity's hairstyle from The Bride of Frankenstein. Let's research products and see how I can get it to stand.
There's tutorials. When I was looking to see if it was real or not, I happened upon a bunch of tutorials. So they're out there. They're on the web. You can look them up and you can have a step-by-step tutorial on how to make it happen.
Amazing. And I think we might also get a tonal shift in the show in the next couple of episodes here. So I also like that we were able to have some more comical moments in this episode. We've got some friendships developing, but not everything is going to be smooth sailing here on out. So stuff. We will be glad that we've got Dr. Joe on the show.
Oh my gosh. Sure. Yeah, there's some interesting plots coming up.
But we will try to handle it with care and love, because we love the show and we appreciate everyone for listening. We'll talk to you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Felicity Was Here is produced, written, and edited by Heather, Melissa, and Dr. Joe. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Felicity Was Here Pod. If you're enjoying the pod, please leave us a review and help us spread the word. We appreciate you and would love to hear from Felicity superfans like us. So send us your feedback, ask us your burning questions, or just say hey at felicitywasherepod@gmail.com. We may even read your note in a future episode. Talk to you all next week.